In October of 1965, a tobacco farmer outside Winston-Salem, North Carolina, walked into a Ford dealership with a folded check for $1,195 and drove home in a brand new F100 pickup. That same truck, if you can find one with honest sheet metal and a straight six that still pulls, sells today for $8,000 at a country auction, and the 2024 equivalent from Ford now stickers past $65,000 before you add a single option. Tonight I'm going to show you 5 pickup trucks hiding in plain sight, all under $10,000, including one that the Bureau of Labor Statistics logged as the single most common work vehicle on American farms for 11 straight years, and another that Popular Mechanics in 1972 called the most over-engineered half-ton ever built in Detroit. And the reason you've never heard collectors talk about them is simple. The dealer networks, the auction houses, the glossy magazines out of New York, they all decided decades ago which trucks you were supposed to want. If this channel is the last place in America still telling the truth about these old workhorses, hit subscribe and ride with us. Let's count them down. Number 5. The 1972 through 1980 Dodge D100 Utiline. This was the truck of the independent man, the guy who didn't work for a union shop, didn't punch a clock, didn't want a loan. You saw them on small cattle operations in the Oklahoma Panhandle, in the gravel lots of independent plumbers in Shreveport, parked behind roadside diners in central Missouri. Chrysler built this thing for men who bought a truck once and expected to bury it with them. A new D100 Utiline in 1974, stickered at around $2,900, and according to Bureau of Labor Statistics wage data for that year, the average American factory worker brought home about $176 a week. That's roughly 16 weeks of pay for a truck that would outlast the mortgage. Picture it. It's 5:40 in the morning outside Ada, Oklahoma. The 225 slant 6 coughs once, catches on the second turn, and settles into that long, loping idle that sounds like a sewing machine in a tin bucket. The steering wheel is cold, the bench seat smells like diesel, Red Man, and 40 years of honest sweat. Motor Trend tested the Slant 6 in 1974 and recorded units crossing 300,000 miles on original bearings with nothing more than oil changes and one timing chain. Chrysler killed the Utiline bed in 1985 because the Ram Restyle demanded smooth sides for suburban buyers who wanted trucks that looked like living rooms. What died with it was the idea that a working man's truck should look like work, not like leisure, not like status. Number 4, the 1967 through 1972 Chevrolet C10 long bed. Before the short bed C10 became the darling of every Scottsdale auction and got priced into the stratosphere, the long bed was the one actually working. Ranchers in the Texas Hill Country bought them. Union electricians in Gary, Indiana bought them. Veterans coming home from Vietnam with a little severance and a GI loan bought them. A 1969 C10 long bed with the 250 inline 6 stickered at $2,480. Average weekly wage that year, per BLS records, was $114. The truck cost a man about 22 weeks of labor. It is 93 degrees outside Lubbock in July. The vent windows are cranked open, the dashboard metal is too hot to rest a forearm on, and the 250 is pulling a trailer of baled hay up a slight grade at 45 miles per hour, steady as a metronome. Road and Track, in a 1971 durability write-up, noted that the Chevrolet Inline 6 of this era used 7 main bearings where competitors used 4, giving it a crankshaft rigidity normally reserved for commercial trucks. Today, the villain is the modern Silverado, a $90,000 vehicle with a 10-speed transmission that cannot be serviced by the man who drives it, wrapped in plastic body cladding that cracks in 10 Nebraska winters. The long bed C10 is disappearing because collectors cut them down into short beds to flip them. What we're losing is not a truck, it's the proportion of a working vehicle built for a load, not a lifestyle. Number 3, the 1961 through 1966 Ford F100 twin I-beam. In 1965, Ford introduced the twin I-beam front suspension, and within 18 months, the F100 became the best-selling pickup in 41 states, according to Ford's own internal sales reports cited in Automotive News. This was the truck of the Appalachian coal hauler, the Georgia pulpwood cutter, the Michigan line worker who kept a second job on weekends fixing fences. A clean 1965 F100 with the 240 Big 6 could be had used in 1972 for about $600. New in 1965, it ran $11.95. It is 4 in the morning in a holler outside Hazard, Kentucky. Frost on the windshield. The driver scrapes it with a pocket knife because the defroster will not catch up in time. The 6-cylinder settles in, the 3 on the tree shifts with that long mechanical throw that tells you every gear personally, and the heater finally kicks warm air somewhere around the second switchback. Popular Mechanics ran a 1968 long-term test and recorded a twin I-beam F100 at 412,000 miles on the original front end with the ball joints never once replaced. Now, before we get to the top 2, you need to hear something. In 1977, an internal General Motors marketing memo, later referenced in congressional testimony during the 1979 fuel economy hearings, laid out a deliberate strategy. The memo, attributed to GM's North American Truck Division Planning Office, described the half-ton pickup buyer as transitioning from, quote, utility first to image first, and recommended that future trucks be designed around, quote, the suburban male who associates truck ownership with personal identity rather than vocational need. Read that again. They decided in a conference room in Detroit that the American pickup would stop being a tool and start being a costume. Within 8 years, every major manufacturer followed suit. Bed heights climbed, beds themselves got shorter, interiors got carpet, prices doubled, then tripled. The trucks your grandfather bought with 16 weeks of wages were not phased out because they stopped working. They were phased out because a group of executives decided a working truck was no longer profitable enough. The men who built those trucks on the line in Flint and Dearborn and Highland Park, many of them drove the old ones until the day they died. They knew. Number 2, the 1973 through 1987 Chevrolet C10 square body, the truck you saw parked at every Little League field, every volunteer fire station, every county fairgrounds from Bakersfield to Binghamton. A 1981 C10 with the 256 or the 305 small block, bought used in 1989 for about $2,200, carried entire families of 3 job men through the Reagan recession. It is cold, it is November, it is somewhere outside Sioux Falls. The small block fires on the first crank at minus 12 degrees. The heater roars. The AM radio catches a farm report out of Omaha. Motor Trend followed a fleet of 1984 C10S used by a Nebraska grain cooperative and recorded average service lives of 460,000 miles before first engine rebuild. What modern people cannot understand is that this truck was designed to be opened. Every bolt faces you. Every hose is reachable. A man with a $90 Craftsman set could rebuild the entire front end in a Saturday. The square body died because the GMT 400 that replaced it in 1988 introduced the first fully computerized engine management, and with it, the first generation of trucks that required a dealer to diagnose. That was the hinge. That was the moment the American pickup stopped belonging to the man who owned it. Number 1, the 1948 through 1979 Ford F-Series, and specifically the F100 of the mid-1960s, the truck parked at your grandfather's house. Every one of you watching knows this truck. Light blue or faded red or that pale Ford green sitting next to the barn or behind the garage or under the pin oak in the side yard. 28 million of them rolled off American assembly lines between 1948 and 1979, and the U.S. Census Agricultural Survey of 1974 recorded the F-Series as the single most common vehicle on American family farms, a title it held for 11 consecutive years. A 1966 F100, bought used in 1978 for $400, taught more American boys how to drive a manual transmission than every driver's education program combined. What modern people cannot understand is that this truck did not ask for much. It asked for oil, for spark, for honest fuel, and for a man willing to listen to it. In return, it ran until he could not. I spent 3 months last fall looking for a 1966 F100 under $8,000. I drove to 4 states. I found one in a barn outside Jefferson City, Missouri, straight frame, original 240, and the old man who owned it would not sell because his father had bought it new. That's the country we still live in if you know where to look. So here's what I want from you. This weekend, drive the back roads of your county, look behind the barns, behind the body shops, behind the old filling stations. One of these trucks is still out there waiting, and in the comments, tell me which one your father or your grandfather drove and what state you're writing from. I want to know which parts of this country still remember. Because these trucks were never really about horsepower or chrome or resale value. They were about a country that knew how to fix what it owned and took pride in keeping it running on little money and less complaint. That America is not gone. It is just parked under a tarp, waiting for someone to turn the key.